Okay, so the very first thing that I like to do with any of my clients, if they come to me prenatal, it's great to start working on as early as possible, or postpartum, is diaphragmatic breathing. So during pregnancy, as the baby grows, you'll notice it starts to become harder to take a deep breath. So the baby pushes up on the diaphragm, out on the ribs, and there's just a lot less room in there to be able to take a big inhale down, exhale out. So what happens is when we start to breathe, we start breathing more with our chest, neck, and shoulder muscles. So we get these short, quick breaths up here. So the more we can work on diaphragmatic breathing, a nice big inhale down and into our ribs and diaphragm, the easier it is going to be postpartum to get that breathing pattern back. The reason it's so important to get this correct breathing pattern as long as we can during pregnancy and postpartum is because the diaphragm and the pelvic floor work together. So when we inhale, our diaphragm pulls that air in, our pelvic floor relaxes. When we exhale, the pelvic floor lifts, the diaphragm helps release the air. So in order to have proper pelvic floor function, we need to be able to breathe properly with our diaphragm. So all that said, it makes it sound very complicated. It's actually a very simple breathing process. I like to do this lying on my back. So you're gonna come down onto your back, knees bent, feet planted. And I can give you a way to do this not on your back as the baby gets bigger, but it's nice and easy in the first trimester to start here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a big inhale through my nose. So I'm gonna inhale into my nose. I want that inhale to go down. I'm looking for my ribs to expand, a little expansion through my back and through my belly, and then my pelvic floor should be nice and relaxed, so no tension, okay? So I like to put my hands here. I'm gonna take a big inhale down. You should feel a little rise through the belly. You should feel the ribs expand out as the diaphragm pulls down with that air, and you should feel your back expand. On the exhale, we want a little bit of a lift from the pelvic floor. We want our ribs to relax back down and our belly to relax back down. So big inhale. Exhale, pelvic floor lifts. Air comes out. So you can kind of see this if I do it sitting up here. So when I take that inhale, I'm getting 360 expansion through here versus the rise and the tension in my chest and neck. So big inhale down. On the exhale, I want you to feel your pelvic floor lift a little bit and your ribs to relax. From the front, big inhale down. Exhale, pelvic floor lifts a little bit. Okay, in terms of the pelvic floor lifting, what that should feel like is if you had to go to the bathroom and you did not have access to a bathroom and you were trying to hold in the pee, that little bit of lift to hold in the pee. It doesn't mean clenching the glutes or squeezing in the inner thighs. It's literally the muscles of the pelvic floor doing that little lift. Okay, so that's all that should happen on the exhale. All right, that's how our diaphragm and our pelvic floor work together. We inhale, diaphragm expands, pelvic floor relaxes. We exhale, pelvic floor lifts, diaphragm brings the air back out. So working on this now through the first, second, third trimester is gonna make it so much easier to get a good breathing pattern back postpartum. It's also gonna help with urinary incontinence, which is like a huge one postpartum, of women not being able to relax and engage their pelvic floor. So being able to practice that and know what that feels like now The other thing it helps us do is everyone gets a diastasis, which is that separation of the abs by the end of their pregnancy. However, if we have a breathing pattern of when we inhale, nothing else moves, our ribs don't move, our pelvic floor doesn't move, and all that air just pushes out in your belly, it's just gonna make that separation worse during pregnancy and postpartum. So the more that we can get our ribs to move and accept the pressure of all that air coming in, the less strain we're going to put on our abdominals, and the easier it's going to be to recover from that diastasis postpartum.